short and long term for this organization?
Yeah, I mean, kind of talked about this a little bit after the Scherzer move, and then with Justin, given the place that we were in, we were just trying to be, strategic, and we wanted to see what opportunities exist on some of our players, and we had certain price points that we were looking for, and if those were met, we were going to execute it. And one of the goals here is just to kind of expedite the longer term, kind of the longer term goal. And I've talked a little bit about trying to manage both I'm getting a lot of feedback here. What do we got? A couple people in the same room. You guys hear that? There, that's way better. What I was saying is these allow us to kind of allocate a lot of our resources towards building that farm system, which is, the ultimate goal. And you can kind of try to serve the major league team. And at some point, when you're in the circumstances that we're in, you want to make the best of that situation. And so for us, that was seeing what opportunities exist and seeing if we could get impact talent. And I'm really excited about the acquisitions that we made, not only with the guys that we got from Houston, but also in the other acquisitions, whether that was with Milwaukee or with Arizona, or with the Angels. And so we're just trying to restock and reload a farm system. And so, you have to kind of go through a little bit of pain to get where we want to go. But, I feel that, the organization, is making strides towards a better future.
Tim Britton, you're up.
Hey, Billy, Max Scherzer suggested that you told him that kind of the timeline for competitiveness here was more like 2025 and 2026. Is that an accurate view of how you look at it right now?
So I'm not going to go into details. I think I said this after we ended up moving Max, that any of the conversations I had with him, leading into his last start as a Met, and then any conversations that I'd had after, I just want to kind of honor the those conversations that we had, and I don't really want to talk about them publicly, but I know I did state with a lot of you when we were talking about it, that going into 2024, that we wouldn't have the same odds that we did maybe going into 2022 or 2023, kind of looking at like the preseason odds, whether you want to look at, some of the forecasting, platforms that go out, and The Athletic or Fangraphs or Baseball Prospectus, or even if you want to look at what the, sports books in Vegas are saying the Major League Baseball over-unders are. But I had articulated that going into 2024, we don't see ourselves we'll having the same odds that we did in 2022, 2023, but we will field a competitive team in 2024. And so, now is a time where we start to think about what opportunities can exist in the wintertime, what kind of resources that we'll have at our disposal, and put our best foot forward. But to get to the sustainability that we always talk about, we were going to have to do that organically. And, there's lots of ways to do that. And I think some of the more traditional ways have been, when teams have, for lack of a better word, tanked and put themselves up at the top of the draft, the amateur draft order every single year. Well, that can take 5, 6, 7 years to do. And we don't want to endure that. And we don't think you have to endure long stretches of that, in order to build something sustainable. So that's ultimately where our goal is. is to build to that sustainability. But but like I said, we won't have the same odds in 2024, but we'll put together a competitive team.
Tyler Kepner, you're up.
Yeah, Billy, I don't know why my camera's not working, but when you look back at when you kind of self-assess what happened this year, to put you in this position, what do you come up with? I mean, the roster looked really good, and here you are. What happened in your mind?
Yeah, clearly the season didn't work out as planned. Right? There was high expectations. And like you said just now, Tyler, I mean, it looked good on paper, but it didn't translate to consistent wins. We've talked about the impact of Edwin, and everybody knows it. It shortened the bullpen. It took our highest leverage reliever and really compromised things. And then with David Robertson stepping up and doing a great job in that role, I mean, that would have looked a lot prettier if that would have been in the 8th inning. With what Brooks has done and Adam, there would have been some leverage guys to go to there. But that had moments where it wasn't firing on all cylinders, but so is the starting pitching, and so is the offense. And so felt like every single component has had a time where it wasn't at the best version of itself, or maybe at its accustomed level. And so that started to kind of compound and put us in a tough spot. But I don't think anybody really forecasted that this is where we would be at the deadline. And so we want to make the best of the circumstances. We didn't want to be saying goodbye to talented players and great guys and great families that I've gotten to know, and they're great teammates. But we weren't banking enough wins, and we had to accept that reality and kind of make the best of the circumstances. And so that's what we executed over the last number of days.
Tim Mealy.
Hi, Billy. Pete Alonso spoke the other day and was saying that, he had to briefly consider himself and, might he go in a trade? Given that he has one more year of team control left, where does he fit into the kind of longer term vision you have for the organization?
We love having Pete here. As far as what goes beyond his last year of control, I mean, I'm going to keep those kind of conversations internal in between myself and Pete. But he's such a strong player for this organization, and he means so much to the community and just to kind of our identity, between him and Francisco and Brandon. I mean, these are guys that we rely on, and they're tremendous players. They're great people, great teammates. But what comes beyond that, that'll be a discussion that we kind of hold behind closed doors.
Next up is Mike Puma.
Billy, two things. Did you absorb the rest of Pham's contract in the trade?
Yeah, I wouldn't say. Sorry, Mike.
Also, how seriously did you entertain trading Pete? I mean, were there any untouchables in your mind at this trade deadline?
I wouldn't say. Whether we entertain guys or not, like that's not something I want to comment on. Like I said earlier, we set a bar and an expectation, and in some cases that was met, and in other cases, if it wasn't, we didn't move on. I had a number of, I saw a number of like things online about it, was Rayleigh going to get traded or was Otto going to get traded? And, they're still with us and we're glad they're still here. And so, I think I said this before, this was not, some kind of, liquidation or fire sale where we're thinking that, everything must go. That's not the circumstance. We wanted to have a strategy, and capitalize on, an opportunity should it present itself. But if it doesn't, we weren't going to force the shot. And I think, that was something that, in conversations with other clubs, I think that when you move a player like Max, or they see you move a player like David Robertson early on, when they see that, they start thinking like, okay, everybody's going to go, and they're, we'll just wait until the very last minute, and then kind of, pick pieces off of the roster, and we weren't doing that. If the price wasn't met, the players stayed. Simple. And so that was the strategy that we came into the deadline with, and that's we like I said earlier, we just made the best of our circumstances.
Laura?
Hey, Billy, just given your trajectory for 2024, how do you foresee approaching just the free agent class, especially as it relates to rounding out your rotation?
Laura, you want to talk about free agency already? I mean, the deadline just ended. Let's see. What we'll do is we'll end up, watching a lot of our players the rest of the season, and potentially get a chance to make some further evaluations. See how our depth chart looks going into 2024. Understand where I think we're going to have to go into free agency, and that's okay. And so whether we're in there for a couple starting pitchers or not, kind of be seen over these next couple months. Whether we have to go in for a couple outfielders, that might be the case as well. And so we'll just approach it. I know we'll go in for some bullpen as well. And so we'll just kind of see how some things unfold in the next couple of months, and we've got some time to get a sense of just how much of an investment we can make.
Tiffany Apstein, you're up next.
Hi, Billy. I actually also want to ask a question about free agency. What do you think this deadline says to potential free agents, especially those who have expressed that they want to win now? Do you think this makes you less attractive to those players or to players like that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, that's for the player to evaluate, right? And so when we sit down and talk to players, we articulate, how we kind of look at the short term, and if it's somebody that's going to go on a multi-year deal, we can, talk about the longer term. But at the end of the day, the player is going to process a lot of different things when they make that decision, and that's ultimately, how they, kind of the calculus that they use to to kind of come to those decisions. So we'll just, I don't think that puts us in any kind of different scenario.
Will Salmon, you're up.
Hey, Billy, you mentioned the odds for next year, but with trading Verlander, you basically dock some odds for 2024. And so I'm just wondering, like, what the calculus was in measuring that. Sort of like, how many teams were you engaged in at a high level with Dustin, and just ultimately, why did Houston line up?
Yeah, there was a lot of clubs that inquired. And I'd say there was about 4 to 5 that got serious, and it probably came down to really about 2 this afternoon, and both were acceptable. And, we ultimately were able to get, a pretty, well-known name in Drew Gilbert, high draft pick, notable player from Tennessee, left-handed bat, plays a premium position, run, field, throw, understands the strike zone. He's a relentless player. I think people are going to really enjoy watching this guy play. I think it, plays a little bit with his hair on fire. And he'll join our Binghamton affiliate. And, it's just, a high end, top 100, top 50 talent, depending on what you're looking at. And then with Ryan Clifford, another guy that, great job by Houston and their amateur department. He's a high bonus high school draft. Plays corner outfield and also first base. He's got an above average arm. He hits the ball incredibly hard. He's outperforming the league. Is high A by a really good margin. So we're going to send him to Brooklyn and kind of get our hands around him. But to add that kind of impact talent, that met the price point. But to your point, Will, I mean, that did, that's going to chip away at the 2024 odds, and we're going to have to address that in the wintertime and see how much of that can be recovered.
Barry Beach.
Hey, Billy, I was wondering how much of this method of rebuilding the farm system, like you're doing with these trades, is trying to make up for the pandemic draft when there were so few picks, and then obviously future drafts have been 20 rounds. Is it harder for you to kind of rebuild the farm system the traditional way? Is this one way to address that?
Yeah, I mean, this is an avenue to do it. And, I think I talked the other day about repurposing a little bit of, Steve's investment in the club. If we can, deploy some of those resources and use those to help expedite a farm system build, that's kind of a good consolation prize. I think right now we would have, anybody would trade places to be, winning the division or tied for the division or whatever. That's where we would rather been. But these are our circumstances. And so if we can expedite that and really just enhance the farm system top to bottom, I think we had to look at that. And that was something that Steve and myself and my team, who did a lot of the heavy lifting during this deadline. That's something that we talked to Steve about, and as a potential opportunity. And we got to this point, and kind of made the best of the circumstances.
Back to Tim.
I'm just wondering if you talked to him about kind of the long-term vision that you have for the organization, and whether that's a priority or not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to sit down with Pete, here is, in the next couple of days, whether I might head down to Baltimore, if not when the team comes home. I was talking a little bit with Pete's agent, but yeah, I'm going to have another conversation, but that'll be something I keep between us. Probably not shocking to hear that, right, Tim?
All right, Billy. Thank you very much for taking the time today. We appreciate it.
All right. See y'all.